Very much so. I tell you what, that's a perfect segue because we got to talk about this and bring it up because we mentioned it yesterday about the old slobber hog getting back on the court because you had Hunter Yurachek and the U of A putting out these little teaser videos of like, what's going on here? We're changing the court. What do you think? And it got people all hyped up and excited, which, is marketing 101. It's a good way of doing it. Well, then it got anteed up a little bit last night because you had Hunter Yurachek quote tweet that and said this: hearing some chatter on the slobbering hog, I'll make you a deal. I just received a matching gift offer of $500,000. If we can raise an additional $500,000 for Arkansas Edge NIL before 5 p.m. on October 7th, we will put the beloved slobbering hog logo back at midcourt at Bud Walton Arena. To which John Calipari then also quote tweeted it and said, since I got on campus in April, I've had so many people bring up the slobbering hog and Bud Walton. Razorback fans have a chance to make that happen now.
I've got a handful of thoughts on this.
Me too.
It's like whatever. You're trying to get creative and find different ways to encourage people to donate, get the NIL up. Like he's just doing his job. That's part of it.
Yep.
Guys, slobbering hog is going to be on the court.
Yep.
He wouldn't have said this if that wasn't going to be the case. And he gives you 5 days. All right. It's not like on October 7th, he's going to pull the numbers and be like, well, Razorback fans, you rose $450,000, close but no cigar, front-facing hog it is. He's not going to do that, okay? But this is a good thing, though. And so I like, whatever. Hey, donate. You want it, then go for it. And I think that they probably have a pretty good idea that they're going to be able to match said donation or whatever. Otherwise, there's no way he's that narrow-minded to have done that. But I think just get excited because I think it's pretty high likelihood that Slobber Hog's going to be on the floor. And I just also have to add this too. It doesn't cost $500,000 to paint that damn thing on the court. Okay. I've done the budgeting for this before on what it takes to sand a floor and put it down. It ain't $500,000. If they want to put it down there, it's just a choice that they make to do it. So let's go ahead and be clear about that. Like, you don't need that money. It's not like it's going to be like, boy, we fell a little bit short. We're not going to be able to afford it. So come on, man.
And also, there's no way for us to track this, right? There's no way for us to like fact check it. And so, of course, I mean, and look, you can't do the announcement tease that they did plus this. No matter what, even if not a single dollar was donated, you still got to do it just because you've done it at this point. Yeah, the relationship between the athletic department and the fans has becoming just fascinating, honestly, to me.
It's weird.
It's very weird. I just am glad that he didn't try to frame it like he's trying to raise money, which is pretty much his job. And I have no problem with him doing that. I'm just glad he did this rather than trying to be like, well, other teams spend more money, so y'all should spend more money. Right. You poors. I'm glad he didn't do that. At least he just tried to have some fun with it. Man, has anybody had more of a roller coaster 2024 from a PR standpoint than Hunter Yurachek? It's been all over the map, dude, because there was times where I'm like, holy cow, like they're about to revolt against this guy. Then he pulls off the cow thing and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, he'll be all right. Now it seems like he's kind of down a little bit. He had some weird comments a couple weeks ago at the Touchdown Club, but now I feel like he's almost back in the good graces. Regardless, I know people were rubbed the wrong way by him asking for money again. I don't think they should be, frankly, just because he's going to continue to ask for money. He's going to continue to try and get people to donate to that collective, which is all fine and dandy as long as they're getting those $500,000 donations, because that kind of stuff matters way more than whether or not Trey and Harrison donates $20. And so, I think it's all fun and games, and I think they're going to have Slobber Hog on the court. I think we all agree that that's happening regardless, and let's just not look further than that.
Exactly.
They got $500,000 from an anonymous donor, and they got Slobber Hog. This is good news, okay? Can we accept that?
Well, it was funny because when I first saw this, I immediately had the reaction of, okay, there's no way that they're sitting there about to tear up the court, about to put something else, and then Johnson comes over here, is like, Hunter, hey, I got an idea. I know we're going to put a different logo on there, but what if everybody's wanting the Slobber Hog? What if we just make it to where you get money in for the NIL, and then we can trick them and say, hey, donate and we'll do this for you. And then Yurachek's like, Johnson, that's brilliant. And then let's put it together and let's put the plan together. Like, no, that they were going to put the slobber hog on no matter what, like you said, Curtis. That's 100% true. And anybody that thinks that anything different, you're kidding yourselves. They weren't going to be like, all right, let's just sand it. Well, what are we going to do with it? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see how much money the NIL program gets. Like, there's no way that they were doing that. So that's my first thing. And here's my second thing. And this, I'm glad you brought it up, Andrew, because I wanted, bear with me. There's a little bit of a rant I want to have with this Arkansas Edge and with this NIL and everything, because this is bigger than that. Y'all need to get on the same freaking page, okay? Because today you have this coming out about the Justin Moore concert up here at the Walmart Amp, and now all of a sudden gets promoted like all over the place. It was like, oh, don't worry, the proceeds are going to go to the NIL program. This is the day of the concert, okay? Maybe instead of being like throwing things against the wall last minute, start coming up with a game plan to start having this stuff happen in the way that it should be, because you're looking inept. You're looking like you don't have any, there's no communication going through. And maybe there's not. But you have this thing with the court. It's like, okay, they put up the video. Why didn't y'all make this big, you got a marketing department, make this big plan of like, hey, I got an idea, and then you put it together slowly, surely, blah, 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 blah. But instead, it's like, hey, you got to October 7th and get $500,000. Go.
Yeah.
Like,
you have to.
No. Yeah, until like literally in, what is it, 4 days from now. And then you got this thing with like the Justin Moore. I know, like they're pumping it out, but it's the concert's tonight.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
yes.
I didn't know. I mean, I heard about it today when like an hour ago when it came out.
And that is what's pissing me off about this, because I'm not blaming Arkansas Edge or Yurachek or whoever it is. I'm blaming where it just seems like everyone is so disconnected and have no idea what's going on that they just come up with these random ideas at the last minute and be like, hey, listen, the offensive line is going to be at this restaurant here today. Go. Like, start putting it together and planning and promoting it that way so fans can be involved, so people can come out and be involved. And so that way, if people are going to the Justin Moore concert 2 weeks ago, they find out, hey, by the way, that's Justin Moore concert in 2 weeks. The proceeds from all the merchandising or whatever are going to go to the NIL. You're like, oh, okay. Well, you know what? I can plan for that now. I can look forward to that. But instead, you just go on Chuck and Bo's show in the morning and be like, hey, we're going to do this. Oh, okay, go. Get to the place. Go to the amp. Hurry. Spend your money. It's going to the NIL.
Also, does it
come up with a plan?
Does this count towards the 500,000?
It better.
More proceeds?
I think it should. I think
really
it should.
Really good points there, John, because it's a lot of these things, these ideas are great in theory, but it's just like they're shooting from the hip.
Yes.
You know, it's like instead of coming together and having a think tank and being like, okay, here's some really good ideas. Maybe these are ways that we can promote it and get on the same page and maybe do a press release and really, get the most bang for our buck or get the most bang for everybody else's buck or whatever. But yeah, instead of that, it's just like, you're right. Like, oh, good idea. Let's throw it out there right now. So Hunter, tweet it, and then we'll figure it out from there. Yeah. The communication, there's some kind of just weird disconnect there, and you're 100% right, man. It's got to get on the same page.
I tell you, they should have gotten in cahoots with Chapel Roan. That concert last night, I did not attend, but I know people that did. I know Andrew Hutchinson attended. They called the Hogs. The Spirit Squad was there, but that sucker was packed. They should have sent all those proceeds, because it seemed like they were raking it in last night.
I don't even know who that is, but apparently they're very popular. Because I don't
know who it is either. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Us 36-year-olds that I don't know what don't know what that is. But yeah, that's the problem that I have with all of this. And again, like you said, Curtis, it's good. They're good ideas. They're good things, and they're things that can work. But it just continues to come across like no one knows what the heck they're doing, and that's bad. That's very bad. You got to, and I don't know the ins and outs of it. I don't know how much the NIL department and of Arkansas Edge is communicating with Yurachek or vice versa or whatever. But it's just, since this has started, it continues to go on and on and on, where I'm just like, okay, you can't just expect everyone to drop what they're doing and flood this money in and be like, well, if you got to be at the Justin Moore concert, like, oh, okay. It's like, wish I would have known that.
Be at our stream. They're going to be on our stream, and so they're not going to be able to
100%.
go to the concert.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, maybe we should start doing that. Maybe we should start planning out, an NIL stream that is just on a certain time. We promote it, and then we're like, hey, all this money for sure, wink, is going to go to the NIL program.
Hey,
Yeah,
listen,
we do
every
that.
super chat today from this point forward, I will consider handing it to a random student athlete at the University of Arkansas.
That's
I'll
nice of you.
consider it.
Yeah. Do your
I might
part and
Venmo
get the
Ryder
slobber
Helfrich.
hog.
Yes.
I'll Venmo Ryder Elfrich if y'all to every super chat. I'll give him 10%.
Well, I did laugh because not to get too off on it, but on Locked On, I've been having to do reads for Roy, which is this NIL thing. It makes me laugh because it's like I get to choose, or we get to choose the player that it goes towards, and they get $100 just for I'm like, man, I need to start getting to these players. Be like, hey, I'll say your name on Locked On if you come on for an interview. I need to start doing that.
Okay, well, I'm glad to know that they actually get $100 because I definitely did that last week, and I was like, I'm giving $100 to TJ Metcalf for his performance against Auburn, and I was like, I said that out loud. I'm not giving him $100, but I'm good to know somebody is. So.
Yes. So that's the point of them is you get to choose, and then they get that money and they send it to the player. That would be pretty messed up.
I wondered how that worked. I was just following the rules, but
yeah. Well, I did too, and I wanted to clarify because I'm like, man, you ain't just taking my $100 and sending it to him. Like, I ain't doing that. They're like, no, we send it to him. I was like, oh, that's nice. Very good. Let's see. Oh, no, it's not that witty. He's like saying these are basting marketing ideas. They're just dropping the ball. And just like, bro, all right, thank you.
Gosh.
Gotta relax,
we need to start giving Broden all the super chats of Witty.
I'm serious. I may do it. We're going to make him a rich man. Suddenly, Witty F is going to give him the biggest NIL deal he's ever had. He's like, I'll give you all this money, Broden. All I get to do is just destroy you and make fun of you and make jokes about you all the time.
Hopefully it's an electronic transfer because according to Witty, I don't know if he'd be able to actually receive the payment.
Yeah, that's true. Let's go back to the phone lines. Interesting here. I think this is what it says, but it's Blake who's in California. What's going on, Blake?
Hey guys, this whole Hunter Yurachek had me thinking here that this is twice it's happened now that he's come out with a story about the NIL, and it happens to be once the seat starts to get a little hot about the football program. I think the first one was after Oklahoma State. It was UAB, and now after the A&M game, this comes out. And I can't decide if it's him trying to get the pressure on him, so he's kind of taking the fall of the anger of the fan base here for the football program to give them more of a target for him to take it on, or if he just can't read the room and when the football program's at its lowest in the season that he's asking for money. Just curious if you guys put any thought to that. The timing just seems odd every time there's a Yurachek NIL story.
Yeah. Appreciate the phone call.
Yeah, that's actually that's a really good question. And I think back to, Andrew, you mentioned like his roller coaster ride of a 2024, and it would be easy to look at it and go, yeah, this dude, sometimes he does struggle to read the room, man. Like the whole thing with the random, bus video where he actually wasn't back, but and then it was radio silence. That was awkward going on the random podcast. It's like, what are we doing here? But then you also think, okay, this guy is the athletic director at the University of Arkansas. Like maybe there's a method to his madness. And you think that, and then it comes out and you're thinking, well, maybe he was just trying to force Eric Musselman's hand to kind of, crap or get off the pot, and then he winds up getting John Calipari after all this. And then he does the thing with NIL, and all of a sudden, and, I don't know how much money they raised or whatever, but it's like, hey, we've had a few hundred extra people added to the edge. And now he's doing, so maybe there's a method to his madness. I don't know if there's a correlation to him going, whoo, yeah, things are rough with football right now. Let me see what I can do here. Or maybe he's just doing his job, which is to try to fundraise, get more NIL for this football program. And he's kind of hedging it from the standpoint of, hey, these guys are tough right now. People are complaining about the quarterback. Here's an idea. If you want a better quarterback, let's get more money in this NIL so we can go out and buy him. I don't know. Maybe it's that.
Yeah, it's weird. And like I said, it's been a roller coaster for Hunter Yurachek. And I hope I'm like, we're not being too hard on him, because if you look at what Hunter Yurachek has done as the athletic director at Arkansas, it's like 96% positive, like across all sports. Like he's done a good job. The coaches that he's had to hire have typically worked out pretty well. Pittman, that is the one that you could say it was a bad one, and it's going to turn out to not be a great one. But also it's like, I don't know if they necessarily were in a position to bring in a high level coach then, Just like I don't know if they're in a position to bring a high level one in now. The thing that Hunter Yurachek I've noticed is doesn't seem like he communicates with anybody before he does stuff. Like I think the Eric Musselman bus tweet was just a heat check from him on Twitter. I think him going on that stupid podcast, I think that was just something he decided to do. I don't think he.
Both of those are facts. What you just said, by the way,
right? Yeah. I think 100%. And I also think this Slobber Hog tweet. I mean, maybe there's some method, but it's like I really think he just feels himself and starts tweeting stuff and saying stuff, which, like, you know, he's entitled to do. He's the athletic director. He's the head honcho. But I definitely, you know, John, when you were talking about how there's no connectivity between the athletic department of the messaging they're putting out, I think it's a little bit tough whenever, you know, Yurachek just goes rogue every now and then.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to bring this up, and I'm sure no one's going to get pissed off by this at all, but just know I'm not meaning anything negative or anything attacking anybody because I know how the climate is. But Yurachek gives some Donald Trump vibes, man, when he's out here and he's just like, because you know what Donald Trump tweets, man? He ain't going through nobody. And it's just like, and then you know his people owners like, man, I really wish you wouldn't have tweeted that. He's like, I don't give a rip. I'm the athletic director. What you gonna do about it? But that's the thing. He's like, he goes rogue a little bit. And he comes in, and then again, I have no problem with Hunter Yurachek because sometimes people forget that the athletic director, their job is a little bit more than just hiring and firing coaches. Right. Like that's all. Sometimes that's what all they think they're worth. Yeah. Oh well, I mean, you just stay over there in your corner until somebody needs to be fired, and then we'll bring you in. No, this isn't some Julie Cromer Peoples crap. He actually has more stuff to do. He's got to go out there and fundraise, and that's what he does. So I never will ever take issue with Hunter Yurachek doing things, putting out tweets, whatever, to raise money for whether it's the NIL, the Razorback Foundation, or whatever. I'll never take issue with that. But again, it's just about the messaging seems so odd. And we know that Blueprint Sports is the company that runs the Arkansas Edge, to which, just to be honest with everybody, the Arkansas Edge, 15% of those donations go towards Blueprint Sports. The 85% goes to the student athletes. So when you have a third-party company over here running the company for here in Arkansas, this company's in California, they don't know much about Arkansas, so you have this going on. And then Yurachek in the U of A, they can't technically, you know, do things to pay players. You know, the university can't. So they're having to be very careful with the messaging. And then coaches can't do anything. You got Sam Pittman going, oh, shucks, I don't know. And then, you know, somebody's got to feel it out and, you know, be able to do things there in the middle. It's just a chaotic mess that Arkansas seems to, at least right now, be making worse in the eyes of the fans because it seems to be all over the place. That's just how I view it. But
Yurachek is Trump is not what I expected to.
Hey, man,
John's feeling himself on his birthday.
You know, they're eating the dogs. Hey, donate to Arkansas Edge and get these guys a hamburger. You know,
we're gonna have a big, beautiful quarterback, the most beautiful quarterback you've ever seen. Like that would be great if he did some stuff like that. But again, I want to reiterate, I have no problem with Hunter Yurachek. I don't have any disagreements with Hunter Yurachek. I'm not saying Hunter Yurachek's at fault here. I'm just saying that everybody needs to at least give the perception that y'all are all on the same page and y'all are all doing the things and plan stuff. Because, you know, like if you could do, and I'm just throwing this out as an example, but say if it was for the Texas game right now, they came out and said, everybody, the Texas game at 11 a.m. in Fayetteville, for either outside the stadium or inside the stadium, we are going to be charging an additional $1 for water and soft drinks. And you're like, oh, that's bull crap. Well, hey, that extra $1 is going towards the NIL department, and it's going to pay for this. And then people will be like, okay, yeah, hey, kids, come on, let's go make sure we get these overpriced bottles of water so that way we can get ourselves a linebacker. At least, whether it's true or not, but at least gives the people a way of knowing, being aware of it, and knowing where it's going and knowing how they can do it. Like, I don't think that's that difficult, but it just seems like it is.
You know how Yurachek could really win everyone over? If he gets this 50-50 thing rolling.
That's right.
Yeah. And by the way, he did himself a favor by kind of publicly supporting the idea when he went on Chuck and Bo show or whatever, and he was saying like, oh yeah, I like it, but you know, we need that legislation or whatever. He kind of echoed what Carlton said. That's the way that, you know, stuff like that. And I will say, I'll give Hunter Yurachek this credit. He does seem to have his finger on the pulse of like what people are saying and thinking. A lot of times he can feel that negativity and he like tries to say something, and he might not always say the right thing, but he does seem to at least have his finger on the pulse of what people are feeling, what people want. And I would say the Slobber Hog thing is an example of that. Again, the messaging is weird. and sometimes it's incorrect, but he does seem to have an idea of what people are talking about and kind of what the narrative is. And so I do want to, it kind of commend him on that of trying to kind of be in front of some of this stuff. Sometimes they go about it in weird ways.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. Like you gotta just make it make sense for someone like me, a simple-minded person, where it's just like, just give me, I don't want the labor pains. Give me the baby. Just tell me, where do I write a check and what does it go to? Okay, thank you. All right, I'll go do that. But yeah, because I don't know, maybe guys, I know we're talking a lot about this, but I think it's a good conversation. But are other schools doing it this way? Like, are other schools having this weird communication problem right now? Like, that's what I wonder.
I'm sure.
I mean, yeah, I would think
communication thing, but they do weird stuff like Justin Moore concerts and stuff. Like, I see random things where, random schools will just be like, oh, we're going to do this thing and the proceeds will go to NIL. And it's like, I think people are just throwing anything they can against the wall and hoping it sticks.